Sure. All right. Good evening, everybody. I think it's 6 o'clock, so if you don't mind, we can get started. Again, good evening, and again, appreciate you all for being here tonight for this RAP meeting. As always, the Army appreciates your continuing interest and support. And also, I want to thank you for y'all for being flexible with your schedule and attending this particular RAP meeting in March, which is unusual compared to the usual April timeframe that we usually meet. So hopefully we will be continue with the regular quarterly RAP meetings starting back in July. For those of you that may have forgotten my name or I have not had the opportunity to introduce myself, my name is Quan Nguyen, and I am a team lead with the U.S. Army Environmental Command for the Midwest and Central America Division down in San Antonio, Texas. As you may are aware from the recent email that was sent out that Mr. Dwight Holland, who was serving as the Environmental Support Manager for Badger, is no longer with the Army. He has accepted a job opportunity back in New Mexico. However, the Army has identified Dwight's replacement. Her name is Laura Powell. That's Powell. She has already been in the process of transitioning to become the Environmental Support Manager for Badger. She has several years of experience of working at U.S. Army Environmental Command and have cleanup experiences with some of the other Midwest installations that she is assigned to. She's also in the Army Reserve, so unfortunately, due to prior commitment, she's fulfilling her military duties today. So therefore, I will be serving as the presenter for this RAP meeting. So hopefully, in the next RAP meeting, you all have a chance to meet her in person, and she will have an opportunity to further introduce herself. With that being said, I will pause right now if anybody have any questions or need any clarifications. And I'm checking people online too, so make sure that I guess there's no questions online. Okay. So I guess I will continue with the next item on the agenda, which is the roll call. So instead of calling out the names of the RAP members, like we've usually done before, I'd like for this particular RAP meeting to go around the room and have the RAP members identify themselves with their first and last name, and then when we get to the online folks, I guess we can mention their names of those participating online. So I guess at this point I can start at this end of the table with you, sir.
Curtis Hedman, Wisconsin DHS.
Charlie Wilhelm, at-large member.
Stephanie Recipe, Town of Merrimack, alternate.
Kurt Gertson, Thomas Sumter.
Michelle Hopp, Village of Merrimack and Community Co-Chair.
Luke Lampo, Wisconsin DNR.
Ida Krause, Wisconsin DNR.
Bill Staley, Sauk City.
William Carlson, alternate for C-SWAT.
Dan Weiss, Township Fairset.
Grady Holma, Ho-Chunk Nation.
Mike Gleason, Lake Wisconsin Alliance.
Great. Is there anything else in the back? That's right. Go ahead, sir. And then for those online, Kay, do you want to?
Okay, so online we have Chris Hansen, Laura Ola, Valerie Nicola, Jeremiah Yee.
Great. Appreciate that. Next on the agenda is finalizing the meeting minutes for the January 2024 RAP meeting. Hopefully you all have received the minutes that was sent out to you all, I think, back in March 6th. So at this time, if anybody have any questions or comments or even suggestions on those minutes, feel free to voice that. Hearing none, I guess we can begin to initiate the motion to finalize the meeting minutes. I think I understand what that means. Okay, thank you. All right. So the remaining agenda for today's meeting is update on the site-wide groundwater proposed plan, an update on the Gruber Grove Bay sediment desktop remedial investigation report that will be provided by the Corps of Engineers, who is here tonight, and some project management updates, new businesses, and discussion of future meetings. Next slide. You can skip this slide. So, an update on the site-wide groundwater proposed plan. You all probably seen this timeline that was shared with you previously in the last RAP meeting. Our intent for us is to provide you with this timeline so that it's easier for you to see the milestone from how we get to through the proposed plan to the final product. So one of the recent update that happened since the last RAP meeting is in March of 2024, where the Army and the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources met on March 12th. The attorneys for both of the offices were representing to discuss a path forward on the human health risk of the nitrocellulose area, also known as the MC area. During that meeting, the Army conveyed their position that there's currently no risk for the MC area based on the completed feasibility study, the 2021 feasibility study that was approved by the state regulators. At this time, the state regulators is requesting that the risk be evaluated based on state regulations that happens to be lower than what is governed in the CERCLA and EPA standards, which Badger is operating under. So at this point, the attorneys for both of the Army and DNR pretty much agree to disagree on that interpretation. And however, to show effort on a better partnership, the Army will be sharing with the DNR on risk calculations using more recent data from post-2018 to 2023, and hopefully that risk calculation will demonstrate that the current risk is in compliance with state regulations. And if the state find that risk analysis satisfactory, we're hoping that this would be a closed issue. But if that is not the case, then further discussion between the attorneys may be needed. So I will pause there if there's any questions regarding that.
I have a question. Why is the Army thinking that the 2018 data would, and 2018 to 2023 data would be much different than prior data? I mean, what would cause a change?
Well, I don't know what would cause a change, but at least the more recent data will be representative of current risk. We have to go through that exercise to see if that risk calculation is still showing what it did back in the 2021 feasibility study. But I guess in terms of like how data may change, it could be just a number of factors that could contribute to that. additional sources that maybe that have not been discovered before, maybe, and that is contributing to a spike in the concentration. But I think just looking at the screening through the data that we've had, recent data, it seems like all those concentrations is trending downward. So.
Laura has a question online. Laura? She can't hear you. She thinks you might be. No, she's unmuted.
We hear no sound.
Oh, we hear you now.
Okay, good. So I have a question. Is this about the groundwater and the cancer risk being 10 to the minus 4 versus 10 to the minus 6? The 10 to the minus 6 being much more protective?
Yes.
Because the groundwater standards in Wisconsin are based on the 10 to the minus 6. So I just want to say that we strongly support the full compliance with the groundwater standard because it's certainly an applicable or relevant and appropriate requirement in ARAR, as you're familiar with.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
It's a precedent for not only our site but all of the state as if somehow these restrictions are going to be made in lieu of cleaning up groundwater. That's not the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Laura. And by no means that this example is a representative of all other state, cleanup actions that may have different regulatory framework that is operating under. It's just at this case that our attorneys are stating that, since there was no risk identified during the FS RIFS report, that the state regulations does not come into effect until that is identified. But your comment is noted, and we will document that. Thank you. And so, in regards of that NC area discussion, the Army is planning to proceed with the proposed plan to address the groundwater contamination of the three plumes at Badger, the propellant burning ground, the deterrent burning ground, and the central plumes. And there are still some discussions and resolutions that we have with the state regulations in terms of updating the data for the proposed plan using the most current data. And also, as Laura mentioned earlier, that there are some discussion back and forth about 10 to the -4 and 10 to the -6, and how that applies to on-site and off-site. So, I think, what currently is written down for the Army's guidance is that, whatever is off-site, we will treat it as 10 to the -6, and whatever is on-site would be 10 to the -4. But there will be further discussions between our attorneys regarding that before the final proposed plan can be released to you all. And once that is released, then we will initiate that 60-day public comment period, and a public meeting will be held to address any questions or concerns that you all may have.
Laura, you have a question? Can't hear you. You can type it in the chat if you want.
So the Army has already started to receive comments on the proposed plan from RAP members in the community. The Army would take these comments into consideration, as well as those comments that we will receive during the public comment period. So far, what we have received are issues and concerns about a potential metals mobilization in the due to the injection in the groundwater, and also changes in groundwater aesthetics due to the metal mobilization. So hopefully those concerns and questions will be addressed once we start doing the bench scale study to understand better the hydrology of the area. Oh, next slide. Thank you. Okay, so this next slide would be an update on the Gruber Grove Bay sediment RI report, and Mr. Ryan Teff will provide some updates. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. My name is Ryan Teff. I'm with the Army Corps of Engineers, Omaha District. I am the project manager in charge of executing the efforts and overseeing the efforts on behalf of Army Environmental Command at Gruber's Grove Bay. I'm here to present a couple of things, primarily schedule and what our new tasks on the contract are going to be. So we'll start with the schedule, what we've accomplished since mid-2023. We have gone back and forth with Army and the state WDNR on the draft supplemental RI. We've submitted the final supplemental RI to WDNR March 15. In that time, we also awarded two components of our contract: the data gap investigation, which I'll talk about in a second, and the feasibility study. Our path forward is such that we will anticipate the DGI work plan to the DNR be submitted in the spring of this year, and our work plan and subsequent activities for the data gap investigation to commence sometime summer 2024. So what is the data gap? That's where we're going to remobilize to the site. We've identified a number of places in the bay as points of interest where we are going to conduct vertical and horizontal sampling that we believe is inadequate to support the current model at Gruber's Grove Bay. So the technical term is delineate nature and extent. If you work in an environment, that's kind of our MO. Then we're going to implement the feasibility study, and we're going to use that to identify and screen a range of alternatives, considering all of the site-specific data, including the data collected in the DGI. We will identify remedial action goals for the bay, so that could look like dredging again or some other type of remedial alternative. And we'll identify applicable legal and regulatory requirements to take us to that remedial action and carry us through. The strategies in the feasibility study identified as most suitable for mitigating risk will also be evaluated for constructability, cost, schedule effectiveness, regulatory compliance, and community acceptance. So we fully anticipate the board being a partner as we continue through the CERCLA process. That really concludes my slides. Do I have any questions on schedule, a data gap investigation, or a feasibility study as how it relates to the Gruber's Grove Bay? Yes, ma'am.
What might be an alternative to dredging? Dredging or some other.
Yeah. Good question. If I need to repeat it into the mic here, what is an alternative remedial action, or what could be an alternative remedial action? And the answers vary. You see all kinds of different examples throughout the country. One alternative that we were exploring with Dwight was, partnering with, oil companies that do that do horizontal drilling that clear these kind of shallow lake beds of sediment. They essentially take a vacuum and suck up all the sediment and then take it to settling ponds, evaporate it, as opposed to dredging it where you're remobilizing the sediment. So vacuuming instead of shoveling it up. That seems to be one of the preferred methods that we've explored. There's other alternatives, including finding some kind of stabilization material where we could stabilize the sediment so that it's not this fine sediment that gets remobilized. It would be a little more durable during the excavation process. Those are just a couple of examples that we've explored, and there's a wide range of technical and remedial actions at our disposal at the Army Corps, and we have a number of tools that we could utilize to mobilize a contractor.
Thank you. We do have a question online. Laura, I see you typing. Did you want to speak or type in the chat? Laura asks, is the risk assessment going to include lead, copper, arsenic, nitroglycerin, PCBs, and methylmercury?
I don't recall off the top of my head all of the chemical constituents that were considered during the risk assessment. The primary risk driver is mercury, but in those evaluations with mercury, you get a suite of heavy metals. Again, I don't remember the specifics, but I can certainly provide that an answer to that question in the next couple of days. So I'll take that as an action item to give to Quan.
Chris, do you have a question? You're muted. You can type it in the chat if you'd like. I can't unmute him, so he has to do it on his own. Okay, you're unmuted. We can hear you, Chris.
Yeah, I had a quick question. Are you still looking at 2025 for on-the-ground activity?
On the ground activity, so more specific, so I think we can distinguish between two things. Some on-the-ground activity for the data gap investigation, so the sampling event where we will do additional site characterization is planned for the summer of 2024, so this summer. Remedial activities would follow recommendations from the data gap investigation feasibility study. So I can't promise 2025, but the thing that I know for sure is the data gap field activities, which is summer 2024. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I've got it.
Yes, ma'am.
When you're doing the data, I'm sorry, there's so many kids talking.
It's okay. The DGI, yeah.
When you do the data gap investigation, what can the community expect to see out there? Because I'm sure we'll get questions.
Yeah.
Was that big touching things or just
No.
people or what?
It'll just be people. So it'll look a lot like the 2001 sampling event, if I'm remembering that correctly, where you'll have people with big long poles going down, collecting a grab sample and bringing it up. The idea is we'll go somewhere in the neighborhood of 0 to half a foot to 0 to about 4.5 feet once you hit sediment. So it'll be within that range. That's about the same range, possibly a little bit deeper than previous RIs, just so that we can confirm that there is no contamination below whatever the lowest point in the previous RIs was. So if the lowest point was 4 feet, we'd probably go 4.5 or 5 feet for confirmation samples. Yes, sir.
My understanding was a lot of this sediment was suspended.
Some of it is, yeah. The model is, it gets suspended when it is dredged, and that the hydrologic environment allows for a lot of the sediment to settle over time. I don't recall the last time the USGS chimed in on sediment being suspended at or near the benthic levels, but that is something we'll take into consideration in our DGI report, in our DGI sampling activities, if there is a way to sample suspended materials. Do I have any other questions? Schedule, DGI, feasibility study, Corps of Engineers, Nebraska basketball. The first time they've gone to the tournament in a long time. Was hoping to see the Badgers play them in the Big Ten tournament, but didn't quite make it. Yeah.
You aren't involved with the Final Creek investigation, are you?
The Final Creek MMR.
You're talking about that's our company. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. He's talking about the soil investigation.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No. All right, Glenn. Thank you. Thank you.
So next is some program management updates, which includes the 5-year review. The Army received the state regulators' comments back on February 6th, so we appreciate the WDNR review and prompt comments that was received. So the Army at this time is incorporating those comments into the final report, and hopefully we will have that sent out to the RAP members and the administrative records by the end of this month.
Laura, you have a question? She's typing. Can we comment on the 5-year review before final?
I have to check on that. The 5-year review is being, conducted every 5 years by an independent contractor with input from the state regulators. So I'm not sure if that kind of report requires, I guess, RAP members' comments. But I can verify that for you, Laura. So the next item is an update on the settling pond expanded site inspection. As you all recall, that we awarded a contract back in December of last year to do the site inspections for the Final Creek, the settling ponds 1 and 3, and the various spoils disposal area. During that time, there was, our budget was very tight, so we only could fund certain tasks at that time, which, as you can see there, we have completed some of those necessary preliminary documents, and we have several more documents that is in the pipeline that's due by September of this year, including the quality assurance plan, the site-wide groundwater monitoring plan, and the emergency response plan. However, since the last RAP meeting, we've received additional funding resources to award the actual site inspection work, and we're eager to start developing a work plan to do that site inspection investigation, and hopefully that would be done complete by spring of 2024, and that we will have actual field work by the summer of this year. I will pause for any questions. Sure.
I'm talking a lot to people. So, and I feel that because I didn't talk to my DNR friends ahead of time. The Crown, you and I had spoken on the phone, and we were talking about emergency response planning for the Settling Pond area, and the concern that the community might have because of that underground fire from a controlled burn. And I was wondering, DNR, if I put down the spot, do you have a plan to prevent that in that area now? And if you don't know, you can get back to us. Prevent like another.
Yeah. I know. So we don't, or they really have a plan. We're under in the weeds. We're in another program with DNR, many programs, but we have been in communication with our fire services that are also in the DNR. So they're more than well aware of it, and they're actually running that up the line on their end as well, simultaneously in all of the work that we're doing here. Not checking on any timeline. I think that was their intention to post some sort of determination decisions after they're having their inspection. That was you and everybody here. I can probably share it with you if you want to share it.
I guess my understanding to add to that is that currently that area has signs posted for I forgot what the wording was, no trespassing or contaminated site or something like that. And let's use some silk fence that was originally installed by the state. And also, based on the 5-year review determination, there are recommendations, I should say, that this particular site, which is a Settling Pond, that need to be some kind of land use control addressed. So we will be working with the state and with our contractor on planning for that additional signage restriction, communications out there.
And will that be part of the emergency response plan?
Actually, no, it's not. I'm sorry. Yeah, but go ahead.
So Michelle, the emergency response plan is specifically about if a resident needs a well or what happens. So it's a little misleading, but it's specifically about when that happens, what is the official statement? Instead of, this is what we've done before, we're just going to try to get it into writing.
Correct, yeah.
There's nothing magical about it. It's much what's been happening before, but it's something that you could point your finger at.
Thank you for that. And then we'll get an update from the DNR about any, more safety controls in case we don't want another burning.
No.
Especially now we are seeing some open burning, at least in my neighborhood. So it made me think of it and what have we done to help to prevent another one. So I think the community would really like to know.
Yep, we got to do that. And as soon as we know, we'll share it with you, share it with the rest. That's okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, guys.
That'd be awesome.
Thanks for the question, Michelle.
One more question online. The question is, can DNR comment on the sludge areas near the Settling Ponds and what DNTs were found, all 6 in parentheses, in the soil?
Yeah, sludge areas are you talking about, I guess, specifically? I'm not.
It's Bluffview, sanitary districts, sludge beds that were the Army's.
Yes. So I don't have it in front of me. I'm not sure what was detected at the time. I think that was in 2018. But if you want to, that is on our First on the Web website, that initial report that was conducted, and then the determination made at that time. And we can share a link out at that time too if you want to do that with folks. That's okay. But I think if I'm not mistaken, it was sampled in 2018 and no action required was determined around that time period. But we can find those specifics, the report's available, and share that as well.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the field work that's planned for the summer of 2024?
Actually, Joel, you want to provide that?
When I talk, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So we're going to be planning on doing either a rig, which is just a small push rig, so it's not really a high-end machine, or we're just doing shovels. So as in the past when we did it, you can just use a hand auger or shovel, so it's minimal disturbance. You're collecting samples for all of the explosives, all of the other chemicals that were in production, diethyl phthalate, those kind of things that were in there. You're doing mercury. You're analyzing for a suite of metals besides mercury, nitrocellulose, volatile organics like benzene. So you're getting that full suite of chemicals that we looked at the same as in Settling Pond 2. So same types of system. We're going to try to go deeper in some areas. We're going to be in Final Creek, a lot of different samples along the creek. Settling Pond 1 is going to be a focus because it's a very large area, and it receives the wastewater before any of the other ponds did. Settling Pond 2 is not included because that was already conducted. And then we'd be in Settling Pond 3, and then the disposal areas. Disposal area 1 and 2 had a mass excavation done by the Army, so there's going to be probably limited work done there. There's 2 disposal areas on the south side. Those are probably going to be investigated, and you might have to go deeper because there was material that was dredged from Settling Pond 3 up the hill and put into these piles. And so depth, I'm not exactly sure. I've never drilled those, so I don't know how deep they actually are. Like, where is the material from that was down below? And usually the material is easy to tell the difference. The sand is pretty prominent in that area. So it has been pretty easy to tell the difference between what was original and what could have been related to production activities. So it just helps guide us with that. So we're going to have a small crew. Sometimes you may never know what you may never know we're there. Because we're there every day, so there's a lot of times we drive around, we hardly see anybody down there. But obviously the DNR is going to be knowledgeable on if they want to come out and see anything, anytime that's happening. But I wouldn't anticipate that's going to be for a few months because we have to give them a plan and make sure that they're okay and talk about all the locations where we're going to be in the beginning. So we'll provide a map at a meeting in the future.
Thanks, Joel. Next slide. So now for an update on the PFAS renewal investigation for the propellant burning ground. The Army is still working to have a contract awarded, hopefully in 2024. We are aiming to get it awarded in the first quarter of fiscal year 25, which is the October to November timeframe of this year. Hopefully, next fiscal year will provide us with a better budget, and we'll have a better chance of getting things awarded. So, in order for the Army to fund any cleanup work, a site has to be first created in the Army database. And that process takes effort and review all the way up to the Pentagon level. But we're happy to say that as of February 20th, that the PFAS site has been approved to become a site, and now we're in a process of just entering that new site into our database. And then the third bullet is just indicating that before we can add any individual task of work into a contract, we must have an enterprise contract, which the Army calls it the IRMA contract, to use as a contractual mechanism to add the individual tasks that we want to award. So we're anticipating that the enterprise contract will be established or finalized by, you should say, in April 2024 instead of March. But hopefully before then. So after all that steps have been completed and the contract has been awarded, the Army will initiate with development and preparations of the necessary preliminary documents, including I'm sure multiple discussions with WDNR in creating the work plan. And once that work plan is finalized, then the Army is anticipating that by spring of 2025, that we could be out there in the field conducting the nature and extent of investigation of any potential PFAS contaminations. Sure.
We are still calling for investigation at the current burning ground area. Is this going to happen as part of this new study?
So yes, as I mentioned, now that we have a site, the PFAS site established, even though it's only for this particular propellant burning ground area, during the discussion with DNR, there may be additional information that the Army can consider, and based on those information, we can do some supplemental SI work, which is different than the RI that we're doing now. The RI is for investigating the nature and extent of the contamination, where the SI, which take place prior to this, is just to go out to those locations that we may have missed from the previous SI investigation, and just go and check to see if there's any presence or absence of PFAS.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide. So for new business, I'm sorry, is there a question back there? Oh, sorry, that's Ryan. So for new business, I had a discussion with our co-chair, Michelle Hoffman, regarding the RAP members' possible interest in acquiring additional TAP assistance, especially now that the current TAP grant is expiring soon. So I just wanted to provide some clarifications with regards to the eligibility for a TAP grant, and this is all based on the DoD TAP handbook. So per the handbook, the limit to receive those TAP assistance is $25,000 per fiscal year, with a cap at $100,000 overall for an overall project. But obviously, I think for Badger, we have exceeded that limit, and in order to receive additional grant assistance, TAP grant assistance, you have to request a waiver for that. So we encourage, before you do that, per the handbook, that you look into other options first, which includes maybe even using our current Army cleanup contractor to provide explanations on certain technical aspects that you may need assistance on. You can reach out to your local state and regulators that may be familiar with the cleanup projects. You can reach out to your universities, technical staffs or professors, or even volunteers such as RAP members within yourself who may have the expertise and the availability. Now, once all of that options has been exhausted, and that a TAP grant is needed, then you will need to provide that waiver letter to us and the application, and we can help you in filling out that applications. But before all of that is being done, that the TAP assistant requires that at least 3 community members identify a specific project that you like that assistant in, and that the majority of the RAP communities agrees to that. So at this point, I'm not sure if we are ready to have that discussion to identify that. I think in the meantime, we can certainly assist you with getting that waiver approval on our end, and then maybe you all can reach out to us at that time, at a later time, to discuss what specific project that you have identified, and that the majority of the RAP members have concurred with that. Yes, sir.
Sauk-Prairie moves to RAP. Have we had a TAP for 4 years?
No.
How have we heard about it?
Oh, it's because we've been at this since the 90s. So we've been doing taps for a really long time.
Okay, I just thought.
But that's a good question.
I wasn't aware that there was. I just saw the taps.
Yeah, a lot of us have been on many taps. So what I would do then is write a letter, which I did before this last one, and then we do. But we have to, before we would do it, we have to decide what projects we need help with. And then we also have to see if maybe some of us are experts, or like Paul was saying, or maybe we can get some other help before we reach out.
And hopefully the time frame that we presented here, or if you need more specific details on the time frame that we could probably provide to you, that may help you with a time frame of when you think that type of assistance is needed, either for the proposed plan, or maybe the Grow Bay, or PFAS is out there, but so just thinking based on the time frame that you want to keep into consideration.
Laura, you have a question? Her hand is up, but she's not responding. Laura, you're muted. Okay, you're unmuted now.
Okay. I just did a comment. I think we should pursue it. I think we'll get the waiver because of the reason we have before. It's a very complex site, as we've seen from the presentation tonight. And I did have time to look at some of the Gruber's Grove Bay documents. And I feel like we're really familiar with groundwater and groundwater law and how that's going. But I looked at Gruber's Grove Bay and this is way outside what we worked on before. I think we're going to need help. And I happened to talk to Jim, who we've been very happy with, as the current TAP consultant. He has worked on sediments and aquatic ecosystems, that kind of thing. So I just want to put that out there. That would be one of the things I would ask the board to consider, especially with interpretation, because a lot of the stuff I'm not familiar with, because we've been so focused on the groundwater and the soil.
And I just want to add on, I'm sorry, Laura, go ahead.
No, I'm not.
Thank you. I just want to also clarify that when you receive that waiver, that's only good for each year. So that waiver is not open for, to eternity, I guess. So every year that you request that, a new waiver needs to be approved.
Got it. Thank you.
And again, as I heard from the folks that make all these decisions, they are very interested on how the RAP members is using the tab and how they have helped them. So any feedback on that, we would definitely convey that to them. Next slide. So we come to the future meetings. This is the projected or the scheduled upcoming RAP meetings. So hopefully by July, Laura, the new project manager, Laura Powell, will be presenting this. I will still be involved as always in Badger. And we are, the reason why we moved the meeting up for this particular one to March is because we have a contract to support ERG that support us with getting this room and the videos and notes and stuff like that. So unfortunately, that contract is coming to an end in March. So we are working on a new contract to hire another contractor for that support. Either it's be a SAM contractor or somebody else. So we're hoping that by July that new contract is in place.
So there could be
And I know she's been great support for everyone. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Kay.
I'll miss you all if I don't come back. Hopefully.
So that concludes my presentation for tonight, and I know I paused to allow you guys to provide any feedback or questions. But as always, if you have any questions that you think of later on, my email is listed at the bottom of the slides. You can always reach out and send an email, and we will try our best to provide an answer promptly.
And just another comment, all of our phones are changing, so contact is there. We are leasing all of our desk phones. We're all going to internet phones. So you'll see new phone numbers for everybody at the Army Environmental Command. Laura has an announcement. Laura, go ahead. Okay, you're unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, sir. I have an exciting announcement for you, but before I do that, I wanted to first go back a little bit to when our community first organized around this groundwater contamination, which was 1990, and as many of you know, it was actually on my birthday, and that's when we discovered the problems that we had outside. And as we've learned and still are talking about today, that the main source areas for this contamination is burn pits. For decades, the Army piled up excess propellants and chemicals and dunnage, fuel. It was just dumped and burned. One report said as much as 500 gallons a week. And we have this contamination that we're still dealing with today. So the first 3 years after that, our focus was understandably on getting clean water, getting our water tested. And then we had 2 years later, this was in 1992, Badger submitted a proposal. They bring this to your attention in the context of the burning grounds at Badger. The Army submitted a proposal to the DNR to increase open burning of hazardous waste from 1,000 pounds a year to over 2,500 pounds per day. For those of you that are wrong, it was like 6 to 7 years and they never did. They withdrew the proposal. And what was interesting is that same year, this is when Russ Weingold was still a state senator, he wrote to the Army, "I believe that the burden in this situation lies with the Army to find alternative methods of disposal which do not release toxic products into the environment." So then the years passed and now it's 2003, and as part of the base closure, the Army proposed burning all 1,400 buildings down to the ground. These were buildings that contained PCBs as high as 22,000 parts per million. The threshold was 50. The lead was extraordinarily high, 170,000 parts per ppm compared to 5,000. So during that period, we didn't have the burning anymore. Badger was closing. The buildings didn't get burned. That was withdrawn. In the meantime, around the country, places like the Crane Naval Surface Warfare Center in Indiana, they currently have a permit to burn up to 109 million pounds of explosive weight per year. McAllister in Oklahoma is over 9 million pounds of explosive weight. So a few years ago, in 2017, we had a particularly interesting pairing. That was Senator Tammy Baldwin and Mitch McConnell came together and agreed on something, and that was they requested it on behalf of the National Academies of Sciences study looking at alternatives to overburning and open detonation. And this is important for us, good for our community, because that's what started all of this. This is why we're here today. And the EPA at the federal level announced this week that they have written a new rule, we'll have an opportunity for public comment, reducing the amount of open burning and open detonation. We're working for a complete ban, or at least a timeline for when that would end. But this has been decades in the making, literally, because in the 1980s, Congress said there will be no open burning of hazardous waste in the United States, and the EPA granted this one exception, and that was for munitions. So when you think about the burn pits overseas, that's exactly what's happening in communities all across the United States and in Guam and Puerto Rico. So it's an exciting day. This is 34 years later, is to actually see federal movement on this issue. So it took all of us to get here. There was no one person. I think back, like Bart Olson gave us the front page and the shopper staffer to work on this issue, and phone calls of people that signed petitions and came to meetings that were very long and sometimes boring, like we're enduring right now. But you guys have all hanged in there. This is truly a community victory. And so I wanted to share that, and we've played a part in a bigger movement so that hopefully future generations don't inherit what we did. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Laura, for that great history. Do I need to motion to convene, or? Yes, sir.
I just have one comment on this waiver for the TAP. I think that's a very good idea. That was this last TAP. Jim was very informative on the whole circuit process that is very hard to understand, and I think we do need help. Each one of these projects for the last 35 years, each project is different. It's not just one whole project. And the Army keeps changing too. I mean, we changed course I don't know how many times in the last 20, 25 years I've been involved. So I think that's where we should go, is to get a waiver.
And then the other thing we need to think about is what projects. And I think Laura is suggesting the Ruby Grove Bay.
Maybe we can get it taken care of finally after all these years. How many years have they been dredging out there?
So you've got 3
15 years.
members that have agreed.
Wow.
So, that's step one. And then you need to have a majority of the community members approve the project.
So we're already doing it.
I know. If you can get enough, if you can get right now an agreement on the project and take a vote, then we can move forward.
So I agree on that, on the project and the need for a waiver. I guess my question is only about the timing as to whether or not we want to do that now, or is it appropriate to wait until another 3-4 months, 3 to 6 months down the road, in light of the feasibility plan. The point is these have expiration dates, and we want to get it timed where we get the information when we're making the decision or before we make the decision.
The remedial investigation, when is that?
So the final report is submitted, and the next steps are to gather data and then to use that data to help with the feasibility study interpretation. I'm not in the business of recommending when you would or would not use TAP, but just looking forward at the Gruber's Bay schedule, it is very field work intensive. I think if you see people on the bay, everybody kind of knows what is going on with the bay. I think where maybe there could be some technical help is on the back end, helping with the data interpretation, which may be a few months. So that's a very wide suggestion.
So maybe we should table that to the next meeting.
To the next meeting, yeah.
Okay.
And you don't think that they would benefit from understanding the desktop RI that you've completed?
Because
the RI and the FF are different projects.
They are, yes. I'll leave that up to you guys. I think we can certainly provide a copy of the final RI. There are some statistical methods in there that are pretty advanced, but I would leave that up to you as to what you would need CAP support on. I would recommend the feasibility study with the remedial actions. So.
For sure.
And we'll have a very good schedule going into the summer. So, over.
So maybe, it looks like Gruber World, if you guys wanted to use the TAP for that assistance, that seems like an out year in 25 or a little bit further out. You might want to try to get a waiver for, if there's another immediate project that you think you might need, like a proposed plan for the groundwater. We can try to get that waiver. I'm not guaranteeing that every waiver you get will be granted. They may say, oh, they got this waiver this year and they get another one for next year. But I'm just going to give you that heads up that instead of waiting for that particular project, we can try to at least ask for a waiver for another project that may be more of an immediate need.
What's the Army fiscal year grant fund?
October 1st to September 30th.
Okay.
Yes.
So what you're suggesting, Kwame, is perhaps for 2024 to get the TAP for proposed plan for the groundwater.
Okay, we were thinking that the proposed plan will be out, it should be out this year. Earlier, it's been a while, so we're hoping to get that wherever additional discussion we have with the DNR.
And then 2025, Gruber's Bay, again, the caveat is we're not guaranteed, but at least we can try. And may I just get feedback from the RAD folks? Was it helpful to have the option to see the video later, to be able to, get in? Yeah, people did like that.
There was no way I could have participated had it not been for that. So I really appreciate that. And by the way, I agree that it was extraordinary. The material that Jim put together was just excellent.
It was really good. And I'm glad to hear that from a professional, because I'm still a layperson, and so I'm never sure how advanced it is. So that's good.
He's a professor, as you say, at university.
Yes, he is.
For free, but whatever.
Any other feedback on this last TAP?
I thought Jim was really good. He takes these terms and brings it to where I can understand lay people's.
Exactly. As many of us are lay people.
Yeah.
We do our best.
So it's really helpful for me to understand a lot of this stuff.
Good.
I didn't check the last application that was approved for this particular tab. What was it, the specific project for? Do you know? What was he helping you with?
I should know because we just did it, right?
Yeah, it was all with the proposed plan. So that's why I wondered, could we do it?
Yeah, it might be. It was something. I haven't looked at it happening, but obviously you probably can't use the same topic again.
Exactly.
But that's what I wondered. Open the bigger topic, it may be other components within the proposed plan that we may have, questions on.
Okay.
But yeah, so.
Yeah, it was the proposed plan.
Okay.
All right. Well, we can think about it maybe and talk again in July.
Yes.
Sounds good to everybody? The U.S. Geological Survey people were very helpful too. They were they were excellent.
We're not supposed to use them.
What?
We're not supposed to use another. Kathy can correct me if I'm wrong, but you can't use another.
It's not considered TAP. It's like where he was saying you have to exhaust other services. So we already had a contract with them, and so they were already providing support. So they could support you, but it wasn't a true TAP. It wasn't an outside source. It was those. He was saying, you can get help with the other Army contractors, and that's kind of how that works. Just like SBS, may have experts, they may have, if you have questions about geology, they have a geologist that can talk to you. Questions about, whatever sediment, they may have an expert that can help you with that. So using the Army's contractors that already have a contract in place is another aspect.
And we can certainly, if you want additional, like I mentioned before, if you need additional information or clarification or explanations on what we're doing, obviously we can utilize, the current Army contractor for the Group A and for the proposed plan to provide some kind of, presentation for the RAP.
And at a RAP meeting or
probably at a RAP meeting.
Parts of the RAP is that the Army is supposed to provide you training that you determine you need. So if you need someone to explain the process they use to do the sampling, or if you need somebody to explain the process they use to do the dewatering, or whatever aspect of it that you want to understand better, that's part of the training that we can provide, and it wouldn't be taxed.
So I guess the thing that for us to remember is, if there's something you want to know, don't be afraid to ask.
Absolutely.
And then we can get it on the agenda, because I think we're working harder to be collaborative between the Army and the community, and so we're having phone calls ahead of time to say, what do we want on the agenda? And so I'd really like to hear from you if there's something that you'd like to hear and learn. Because really, this is for us, right? And, otherwise they're guessing what we want to know. So think about what you want.
Yeah, we always try to ask,
Oh, yeah.
if you have something you want on the agenda, just let us know, and we'll because we have to arrange for the right people to be there at the right time to give you that information, and it takes some coordination. So the sooner you can tell us what you want to learn about or hear about, the better we are able to get the right people to you. Because Juan can't be an expert on everything. So we have a lot of staff that we can reach out to, a lot of contractors that we can reach out to provide the education needs.
Thank you, Kathy. And thank you, Juan.
Thank you for attending again. Everybody have a good night.
And check out the children's art if you have it.
Yeah.